Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Josephine here, and I'm excited to be joined today by Donna McGeorge, who is the author of best-selling book, The Chat GPT Revolution, or Charlie, as she likes to call ChatGPT, just to get that tongue twister out there. But look, it's been a great chat. I reached out to Donna because we know that AI is taking over the world with robots, right? So I just wanted to lighten the load and learn more about it so that I could embrace it and also implement it into my business. So I reached out, and it turned out that she was so lovely, and she said, "Hey, why don't I send you a copy of my book?" And I was like, I would love that. And then I invited her onto the podcast, and away we went. So, I do think that you're going to be enlightened by this conversation. The aliens and the robots are not going to take over the world. And I think Donna is going to rest your mind with that. I think coming from a creative space, we are concerned that it's going to spoil our creativity. But instead, it's about productivity and how to enhance our creativity using tools such as ChatGPT. So we're going to talk about that. For anyone listening, I did read the book and I thought it was going to be dry, not going to lie. Reading something that's really techie is not necessarily my thing, but the way in which she writes it is so approachable, and she talks about the history as well of AI, and it's actually really interesting. It's an interesting read, and it's an accessible read. So I would definitely recommend the book to anyone that's looking to learn about it in a way that's light and easy and makes sense, and that actually has ways that you can apply ChatGPT to your business. Now, Donna McGeorge is a believer in the power of intentional living, and she knows that creating space for thinking, planning, and growing is the key to achieving it. She understands that the gaps, pauses, and spaces in between are necessary fuel for the fire, providing the chance to step back and breathe. Through her own lived experience, Donna knows all about the juggle and struggle, and she has made it her mission to create space for others to do the same. She offers multi-layered programs of long-term engagement to embed real, lasting behavioral change. So Donna knows that slowing down can sometimes be the best way to speed up. By creating intentional space and being deliberate in our actions, we can achieve our goals and make the most out of every moment. And I think this is really important because, when we talk about ChatGPT, we're like, well, what's that got to do with intentional living and creating space? Well, it is. It's about productivity. And when we're more productive, which you'll begin to learn as we speak to Donna, when we're more productive, we create space by using tools that can assist that productivity and save us time. And that's what the power of ChatGPT is about, everyone. And I'm really excited to share it with you. So let's do it. Let's take it away with Donna McGeorge. Hello and welcome to Studio Biz and All That Jazz. I'm your performing arts business coach and host, Josephine Lancuba. This show is designed to bring you inspiration, information, and the instruments you need to create and grow the studio biz of your dreams. I will bring you a mix of solo episodes as well as interviews where I tap into the minds of industry experts. My career started as a performer over 2 decades ago. I later became a speaker, theatrical producer, and talent manager, as well as having a successful teaching career in singing, drama, and dance. 10 years into my professional journey, I became a mama of 2, and with a baby on my hip, opened up my very own performing arts studio. From hardship and humble beginnings to 4 studio locations and a multi-6-figure performing arts biz, I know how to attract students and keep them coming back for more. And in the show, I will share with you my experiences to help you thrive and fast-track your path to success. I know you have a spark inside of you with dreams and goals for the future. As your coach and mentor, I'm here to help you step into your limelight and be a cheerleader in your ear each and every week. So get ready to be entertained and inspired as we talk studio biz and all that jazz. Hello and welcome, Donna McGeorge,
to
Oh,
Studio
hi.
Biz and all that jazz.
Yay, and all that jazz. I feel like I need to give you jazz hands when I'm doing that, but that's probably very old school, and your listeners are like, oh, not that old joke again.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I still use it too. And I just want to say, and for anyone watching the visuals here, I'm holding up Donna's beautiful book that she sent me, a signed copy. So thank you. The Chat GPT Revolution: How to Simplify Your Work and Life Admin with AI, which is what we're kind of going to talk about today in a nutshell, aren't we, Donna?
Awesome. Yes, we are.
Now, before we get into that, I do want to mention, I mean, you've written quite a few books. I've got here listed the 25-minute meeting, the first 2 hours, and the 1-day refund. So this book, The Chat GPT Revolution, wasn't your first rodeo by any means. I'd love you to tell me, a little bit about your world. What's your background and how did you come about to writing a book on AI, essentially?
I know. It's like you're asking. I'm going to give you the question that lots of people I think want to ask is, how did a middle-aged lady at the Gold Coast come to write a book on AI, the latest thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting story. I'll make it as short as I can. But first up, I've actually written 11 books, but the first 7 or so were rubbish. So if anyone's listening and thinking they're going to get the complete works of Donna McGeorge, don't waste your time. The last 4 that you just mentioned, Josephine, they're the best. They're the best.
They're the ones that were listed as your top on your website.
Exactly. I hide the others now, but it's worth noting. It's been, book writing is a little bit is my thing. So how I came to write this is I'd heard about this Chat GPT thing, and as a productivity, I don't know, people have sometimes described me as I feel like this needs an echo, global authority on productivity. I thought I better have a look at this because I reckon there's some productivity gains to be had using AI. And that was about all I knew. And so towards the end of January this year, or depending on when this goes to air, I'm assuming it'll be this year, January 2023.
Yes.
I put some time aside in my diary, about 2 hours, to go investigate. And literally, it had in my diary, go and investigate this Chat GPT thing. And so I went in and I started playing around for about an hour, and my mind was blown. And so then I rang my sister and said, stop everything you're doing and pay attention to me and get onto this thing. And so we started, she's on the phone and she's at her end tapping away and I'm at my end tapping away. And we both went, oh my God, both of us are in learning and development in some way, shape or form. So we have to design courses. I'm putting webinars together or speeches. She's doing e-learning. And so she then goes to her work and she starts bleating to anyone who'll listen, oh my God, this ChatGPT, it's awesome. So someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew someone, whose second cousin twice removed, whose brother-in-law's nephew is a journalist in the mainstream media. So then I get a call out of the blue saying, hey, we hear you're an expert in ChatGPT. Would you can we interview you, beg your pardon, for an article on how to use ChatGPT, 5 ways you can use ChatGPT at home. And of course, that was one of the days. I have these every now and then. I have days where I just say yes to anything. But this was one of the days where I just said yes. And so then I went to ChatGPT and say, what are 5 ways in which I can use you at home? And so I told the journalist I'd done that. We had a great old laugh. Article goes in mainstream media. They even come to my house and take photographs. I'm everywhere. And then the Monday I get, so pretty much like 4 or 5 days later, I get a call from my publisher saying, hey, global authority on productivity, reckon you could bang out a book on ChatGPT in about 3 weeks?
Wow,
and again,
3 weeks. That's insane.
So I know that's kind of short story long, but that's kind of how I came to write this book. It's more on a productivity angle than necessarily a technology angle.
Yeah. And I suppose that's the key, isn't it? It's about productivity. And that's what this whole Chat GPT revolution is about. And I have to admit, I was really, even when you sent the book, I knew I had to get into it. I know I need to really adapt my business utilizing the powers of AI. And I have started doing that. And I'm finding it a really useful tool. But I have to admit, when you did send me the book initially, I thought, oh God, this is going to be really dry. I got to say, I'm reading a book on AI. Like, that's not normally my jam. I got to be honest. And I have to say, it was really easy to read because it's actually much more simple than people think. And even myself, like when I first started using ChatGPT, I remember I had a post-it note stuck on my computer going, like yourself, must check out this ChatGPT thing. And it sat there for a few months before I actually just logged in, and I just put a sentence in there, and I can't remember what the first sentence was. And it was so easy. And I thought, why did I wait so many months? I don't get it. I think it's just that mind block of getting over something new, especially, at our age, and I'm not old, I'm only 40, but it's about, now I've got to learn this new thing, this new software, and I've got to adapt my business to this new way of being. And it can be overwhelming. Do people often, do you come across people that feel the same way? Like, how do you overcome that feeling of overwhelm, or how do we get started in ChatGPT?
Well, so first of all, that's my shtick. I help people who are out of control, overwhelmed, and at risk of failing at the important things. So that's kind of how I roll. But specifically with ChatGPT, a couple of things I'd talk about in there. I think a lot of people who don't know much about it might assume it's some fad. It's like a new social media app or something that eventually a new one will come along and I don't have to worry about it. But for your listeners, I'm here to say, no, this is as revolutionary to business and life as the internet was. And so You're 40, I'm 56, so I can remember life before internet. You might only just remember life before internet. And how, first of all, I don't, and the arguments that people have now about AI are all the same arguments they were saying back around internet. It's going to take our jobs. It's going to take over the world. We're all going to end up, we're not going to have brains anymore, or the thinking will be done for us. All of that stuff was all happening around internet. So I would say that's reason number one, you got to get on this, because it is absolutely going to change our world, and in ways we can't yet predict, as the internet did. We couldn't have predicted when people were downloading line by line pictures from Star Trek that right now our televisions run via it, right? All that, how it's just so ubiquitous, and I think AI will be the same. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, it's so easy to use. You can't break it. You can't stuff anything up, provided you can type into a keyboard. Now, I hesitate saying this because it's not like Google, but if you can use Google, you can use AI. So that's the second thing I'd say. I've got quite a bit to say on this, actually. The third thing I'd say is the speed of uptake. So one of the ways in which technology is measured is how quickly do people get to, how quickly does an application or something get to 1 million users? And for Netflix, for example, took several years to get to 1 million users. Yeah. Prior to ChatGPT, the record was Instagram, I think, which was about 3 months. ChatGPT took 5 days. They've subsequently been overtaken by Threads, the new Meta app, which was like a matter of hours. But so there's 100 million users on it. And then the last thing I'll say is my 79-year-old dad is into it. He thinks it's awesome.
So and so the fact anyone can.
He can use it. If my dad can use it, anyone can use it.
I love the stats that you gave. It's actually, I even knew where it was in the book. How good am I? I'm all over this. Page 14, everybody.
You go.
I love that you talked about this, that, you talk about how many users started using it and how long it took for people to uptake these new software programs. And like you said, you mentioned Netflix, and that was like 3.5 years, Kickstarter 2.5 years, Airbnb 2.5, Twitter was 2 years before it hit 1 million users, Facebook was 10 months, Instagram was 5 months, ChatGPT 5 days before 1 million users. I mean, that's major. And I find it really interesting that you said this is as big as when the internet came out. That actually threw me back a little bit, because you're right. I think when I first saw it, I thought, like you said, it was a fad and it's going to go away. But what you're saying is, no, it's here to stay.
No, it's definitely here to stay.
Yeah, and funnily enough, you actually talk about the history of machine learning and AI in the book, and I actually found that really interesting. And I think that's why it was easy for me to read as well, because it wasn't just dry content about type this in and it'll spit out that. It's actually talking about how it all came about. And I think that's a really interesting journey. And we're a part of history, right? So we should know about it. And I just find that really, really interesting. What was your motivation there in the sense of, having a history piece in the book? Like, because this has been going on it's new, but it's not new, is what you're trying to say in the book.
That's it. I was trying to just take the sting out of, is this the latest fad? By saying that, for as long as you've been using Amazon to shop, any of your favorite shopping websites, just about anything now that uses internet for providing goods and services has got AI or machine learning in the back end. So what I was trying to do in that part of the book was just say, this is not something that's coming from zero. So the idea of machine learning has been around a really long time, and the thinking around it's been around like 40, 50, if not more years. But you've been exposed to it and you've been using it nearly every day. So any website you go to and the little chat thing comes up, that's an AI app. Anytime you go to Amazon and it says, you bought this book, if you like books by, I don't know, James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, by the way, then you might like books by Donna McGeorge, right? So anything that's machine learning, that's algorithms, that's paying attention to your patterns and then offering you up the same stuff. That's exactly the same. Well, it is exactly what AI does. So I put it in there to try and reduce a little bit of the fear that, we're going to end up in some dystopian future with Terminator robots killing us all, right?
So funny, because one of my questions here, I love that you said that. One of my questions here is, people are afraid the robots are going to take over, and that AI is going to ruin our kids and their ability to learn and think. And I have to admit, that was a fear. My initial thought was, oh my God, my children are going to just write an assignment for me at university and not think and not use, critical thinking in life is so important. How do you think that's going to impact the next generation of learners?
It's going to augment their ability to critically think. So it's just going to shift. So sorry again for doing the whole in the olden days
I love it,
comment.
don't worry.
But in the olden days, I was part of the school era where they were banning calculators from school because they thought kids won't be able to do mental arithmetic, and we're going to dumb down our kids, right? And even computers going into schools, we were going to dumb down our kids. So I still remember having the only place I could ever get data, and any youngsters listening won't even know what I'm talking about here, but I'd have to go into the library to get Encyclopedia Britannica, which you weren't allowed to borrow, and you'd have to take your bag of 5 or 10 cent coins and you'd photocopy the bits you wanted to get your assignments done, right? So no kids are now any dumber because they can now get access to all that information online. So that's kind of the first thing I'd say is the evolution of learning and growth and critical thinking. I don't think has changed. In fact, it's been augmented. It's been improved with technology. I don't know how, and I know that sounds really kind of weird for me to say this. I believe the same thing will happen with AI. It's just, kids will learn differently. They'll be assessed differently. Even I'm doing this. So I get AI to write emails and marketing comms and copy and stuff for my social media. I get ChatGPT. I call it Charlie because ChatGPT is a mouthful. I get Charlie to help me do that. And as it's doing it, I'm learning. I go, okay, I hadn't thought about structuring it that way. And so it's for me, it's just as much of an exchange of learning about how to use this new tool to help me do what I need to do. So look, kids are going to cheat. Kids have cheated since bloody Socrates was teaching them walking along the river. Kids have figured out how to cheat. So if kids are going to cheat, they'll cheat. I think it's more how are teachers going to embrace this and teach a new version of critical thinking. I've thought for a long time kids need to understand how to really do fake news and understand what is truth. And I think this is such a massive opportunity to do that specifically.
So how can studio owners specifically, that's typically who listens to this show, how can we utilize ChatGPT and AI into our businesses in a way that you say will improve our productivity or even potentially the quality of the output of the communication that we're giving?
So first of all, I come at this from a productivity perspective, not a technical angle. So the same way, just in case anyone's wondering, so I'm talking about one application, one AI application, which is ChatGPT. If anyone's listening right now and I said, open your phone and have a look at how many apps you've got on your smartphone, several pages. I'm thinking people would scroll. That's what AI apps are going to be like. And how you got your phone apps is how you'll discover your AI apps. And so I hope I'm not confusing here. So my phone came with a set bunch of apps, and then over time I've gone, oh, I need an app for that. Oh, I need an app for that. And away I've grown. AI is going to be the same. You'll be sitting there thinking, gee, is there an app that can help me do blah, 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 blah. Now, the good news is, grab a pencil, anyone that's listening. There's a website called there's an AI for that.com.
Oh, wow.
Pretty sure that's what it is. Or either it's there's an AI app for that. I'll find out the actual one. I'll send it to you so you can put it in the show notes.
We'll pop a link in the show notes for everyone listening.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. But just ChatGPT. So I don't run a studio, but I run a very small business. It's just me. And I have to do all the kinds of comms that a small business owner would have to do. I have to send emails. I have newsletters and databases I have to manage. I have to nurture sequences when people sign up for my stuff, all my social media stuff. It is all now. I get Charlie to help me with it. So it can write me one of my favorite prompts that I've put in there. And I'll send you this as well. In fact, I'll send through, I've got a list of, a couple of dozen different angles you can come at this from and a whole bunch of prompts. So I'll give that to you as well to put into the show notes.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
No worries. But one of my favorites is where I say to it, I think about my target audience. So in my case, it's, senior female leaders who want to level up. And so I say to Charlie, my target audience is senior women leaders who want to level up. Give me a list of their hopes, fears, desires, and goals. And then suggest 10 blog posts for each. And so all of a sudden now I've got a social media campaign that is speaking directly to the hopes, fears, desires, and goals of my target audience. And then I can say, great, I like this one. Now, can you write a blog post for me for that? Now, before anyone starts freaking out about this, first of all, it's that easy and it takes a matter of seconds. Secondly, I don't ever just copy and paste directly out of ChatGPT. It does need a bit of human intervention for several reasons. One, it writes a bit like a computer sometimes, no matter how much you tell it. I've told it how to write in my style. I've said, I'm an engaging, conversational, that's my style of writing. So I tell it to write like that as well. But it still comes out sometimes sounding a bit like a computer, or the pendulum will swing the other way and it uses a whole bunch of stupid phrases. So it's going to give you a pretty good first draft. Yeah. Now, I don't know about you and your business and the people who are listening, but sometimes just getting to a first draft of an email newsletter or an email I'm sending out or a nurture sequence for my database, that can take days of agonizing and doing my head in and struggling for ideas. Everyone on this now that's listening has the ability to have an intern. In fact, I refer to Charlie as my eager intern with a hangover. So eager because it loves to help, but with a hangover because you've got to check its work.
Yeah, and you can even use, I see in a lot of studio owner Facebook groups, people complaining about, oh, how should I respond to this? The client complained about that, or how do you think we can use it in that space?
Totally, right? So I had someone recently, two examples, someone recently say to me, I've got a great relationship with my neighbours. I know this is a little bit different, but I've got a great relationship with my neighbours. They go to work every day. I work from home. Their dog barks all day. But I don't want to mess with my relationship, but I need to let them know that their dog's barking and it's impacting my ability to concentrate. Charlie, ChatGPT, that's the context. Help me write a note to them that would maintain the relationship, but let them know that there's a problem, right? So that's one. Another, recently someone said, I'm always accused of being aggressive in my emails. My tone is aggressive. And I'm a really I'm not aggressive at all. And I go, okay, but tone is tone. And so we talked about, tell them the context. I want to write an assertive email where I hold my ground. So I don't want to kind of roll over and be a doormat. want to hold my ground, but I also want it to be filled with empathy and concern. Please help me. Here's what I wrote. Can you please rewrite this for me?
Wow.
So I think with complaints, there's always the what's your outcome? Do you want to hang on to the client? Right. So if you've got a complaint from a client and you want to hang on to them, then you say, hey, Charlie, I've got this, copy and paste. I've got the complaint. I want to hang on to the client. Now, I'd even limit it to one. I say, give me 3 possible responses to this situation, and it'll give you 3 emails, and you can either cut and paste or use one. If you don't want to hang on to the client, you just want an elegant way of saying, gee, I'm sorry, see you later. You can say that. I don't want to hang on to this client. Can you please help me write a professional sounding note that says, sorry you had this experience and bye-bye, right? And it'll give you the words to do that. So
good.
It's any time you are stuck on anything, ask Charlie.
Yeah, I love that. That is so good, because I think, like you said, it's that initial draft, isn't it? And that's where the time is sunk. It's getting started, or even the procrastination around getting started. So I've really got to reply to that client. How should I do that? It's okay. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow never comes. And then it's been left hanging. And then the situation escalates and it's even worse. Or even just something positive, like, oh, I want to write I want to put in an application for a grant for, Creative New South Wales Arts Grant, and how do I do that? And getting started, because grant applications, we know, oh my God, you could spend a week on a grant application.
Right. Well, I haven't done a grant application, but I've done tenders, and I reckon they're about the same thing. You've got to fill in so much stuff, and then you get to question 17X and it says, oh, and now put in your environmental impact policy. And I go, I don't have an environmental impact policy, right? And so, but to apply for the grant or to put in your tender, you got to put it in. So I went to Charlie and said, I'm writing a tender for this context, or in your case, I'm writing a grant for this context, this government department, Australian, it's an Australian-based thing, so it understands the context even more. And then you say, write me a short statement that describes how I, my environmental impact, or my, I don't use slave labor to get my work done, which is some of the other ones, or my inclusion, right? My inclusion stuff. These are all the things that turn you off applying for that stuff. Right now, I'm saying it's an absolute edge for you if you get in, and because it's the applying that's the hard part, right? You've now got no excuse, and you're right, no excuse for procrastination, because anything you're procrastinating about, ask Charlie what they reckon.
And is there a way to craft? You mention it in the book about getting the response you want. So what's the key to that? Because you've got a bit of a formula there in relation to how to actually get it to spit out a relevant response and not just rubbish.
Yeah, so it all comes around to how you craft the prompt, right? And so I, at a high level, I talk about the 3 Ps of prompts, which says that you've got to have purpose, perspective, and I call it personality. But really that is purpose. What am I wanting? I'm writing a 700-word article. I'm writing an email to my database, a newsletter. And then perspective, if they are business owners, they are, studio business owners, or they're gym business owners, whoever they are. And personality is interesting. So it's easy for me because I know what my writing style is. And I say in the style of me, Donna, which is engaging and conversational style with anecdotes and examples, right? So I craft that prompt and away I go. Now, if you don't know what your writing style is, provided you've got at least 2 or 3 examples, you can go to Charlie and say, analyze my writing style in a succinct way so that I can feed it back to you when I'm wanting you to write future content for me, right? Now, that's I think it's in the prompt thing I'm going to send you through. Otherwise, I can send you through the actual prompt. So then I copy and paste 2 or 3 blogs I've done, or a couple of newsletters that I've done. In my case, it was a couple of chapters of my book. And then it says, Donna, your writing style is very blah, 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 blah. It gives me a big long list. I copy and paste that and save it. Yep. Now, so there's 2 kind of versions of ChatGPT. There's the free version. That's what I encourage everyone to use. It's the one I use mostly. With the paid version, which costs about $20 a month, and given what it saves you in time, it's going to save you up to 30 to 40% of your time. So I say it's worth it for $20. For $20, you can save yourself a profile. And that information that it gave me about my writing style, I save that now as part of my ChatGPT profile, and it always refers to that when giving me content. So it saves me now having to do that. It's just awesome.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned as well, I mean, in the very title of the book, you talk about life admin. How can we, because look, here's the thing. I think it's really important to save time in your business, but sometimes, you know, being a mom and doing, you know, all the groceries and doing all the bits and pieces that we have to do around the house, that actually can take up so much mental space as well that it can take away from our business. I mean, people often say, hey, look at, you know, instead of outsourcing in your business, why don't you get a cleaner in your house so that you have more, like there's a different approach to that. And I suppose when you talk about, you know, Charlie, ChatGPT, we're talking about really outsourcing some of that administration of our business to this AI system. But what about life? Like, is there anything that we can do that can help us save time in our daily lives so that we do have more time for business, for example?
Look, I wish that Charlie could come and clean your house for you. And I'm going to say not yet. Yeah. But I reckon in our lifetime, I'll probably be sitting in a rocking chair on a veranda, but I reckon in our lifetime, we will see robots around the house. I do firmly believe that. So,
I mean,
but
we've got the possibilities though of it helping. Like I've heard, I don't know, like people using it for shopping lists and stuff.
Oh, yeah. So that's what I was going to say. So take the robot part out of it. If we're what we're going to do is outsource the mental load. So as a working parent and then having to come up with meal plans and like, what am I going to feed everyone tonight? So Charlie's your kind of your meal and dietitian strategist, if you will. So again, if you've got, you know, I've got kids who don't like peas or vegetables or greens or something. Maybe I've got celiacs or I've got diabetics or I've got allergies. You can feed that all into Charlie in your prompt. So you can say, I need a 7-day meal plan with meals that take less than 30 minutes to cook, that are easy, that a preteen could cook if need be, you know, unsupervised potentially, depending on how you want to do it. And it has to accommodate gluten intolerance or celiac, type 1 diabetes, and I've got a nut allergy and someone who doesn't like asparagus. Give me a 7-day meal plan, and it will spit that sucker out so fast. Then you say, now generate me a shopping list in the order of the supermarket aisles for insert supermarket of choice, Woolworths or Coles or Aldi, wherever you shop. And so then it's even, but you could probably then just copy and paste that list. I don't know how the online shopping stuff works, and I probably should find this out, but I suspect you could copy and paste that list and import it into one of the shopping apps and get it delivered to you, right? Yeah. So in a matter of seconds, you can have 7 days worth of meals. The other thing I'd say is I'd be printing that sucker out and I'd be sticking it on the fridge, so no one ever has to deal with that dreaded after work question, which is, what's for dinner?
Yeah.
So it's up there on the fridge.
And I mention that only because I want people to realize that, you know, because someone might have gone, oh, wow, you can do that. So I just want people to realize that you can actually use this tool for so many things, and it's a bit of a life hack, really. You know, I was thinking the other day, and I got this from your book. I was reading it and you mentioned something about doing a search, and it was just one of the prompt examples that you used, and there's quite a few in the book. But you mentioned something about, you know, finding a podcast to listen to. And I was like, what a great idea. Because I've got down on one of my tasks for this month, for this coming month, you know, I want to get out there and speak on other people's podcasts more. I mean, I've done quite a bit of it, but really, you know, send a pitch basically and say, hey, I'm here. Would you love to have a chat with me? And I thought, what a great idea. Because you made me think about, I thought, because I've been Googling, you know, studio ownership, dance podcasters trying to get, and that's how I've been doing it. And I thought, oh my God, I'm just going to put it into
Two things I have to say about this, Josephine. First of all, you're going to go and say to it, give me the top 100 podcasts related to insert your industry, right? You know, video recording,
down,
small business owners. Write it down, right? So what are the top 100? You want to go global. You know, you can manage the time zone stuff. Second thing is write me a pitch. So you don't get Charlie to write your pitch for you. Give it your bio, give it a little bit of background about you and say, write me a really punchy, and use the word irresistible, a really punchy, irresistible, succinct pitch to get me onto this podcast. Now, you might want to shift it depending on the podcasts, right? So then you copy a few show notes or whatever, or the description of the podcast onto it. I want to be on this podcast, write me a pitch. But it'll write you that pitch lickety-split.
I love it. I love it so much. All right. So I would love to know, coming towards the end of our chat today, Donna, what does success look like to you?
Space to choose. So this might not be as big a deal for the folks listening today, but one of the things I hear a lot with the people I work with is, I say to them, if a meeting gets cancelled, how do you feel? And it's nearly unanimous. People just go, oh, I feel so relieved. And so what that means is, given in that 1 hour that's suddenly been released in their diary, they've now got the space to choose whatever they want to do. Now, I think that's a real mark of success, is that just about anyone could at any time say, I have the space to choose what I want to do with my time now. So that's certainly where I'm heading. And that's my big wish for everyone.
Amazing. And who or what inspires you?
Oh, look, I'm going to have to go with my daughter. She's 31 or 2. I really should know that. I think she's 32 this year. And her entering the workforce was probably my biggest inspiration, because within 5 minutes of her starting her first corporate style job, she's coming home to me and asking questions like, what is this thing about meetings all the time? And why are they so boring and no one cares? And I don't seem to be able to stay on top of things. And gosh, everything gets done by email. Like there was so many workplace issues she presented to me that I was like, yeah, I got to write books that help her in effect, and help others make sense, or the phrase making work is what kind of where I landed with that stuff. So yeah, she's my inspo.
I love that. And what's next for Donna? Do you have any more books in the pipeline, or what's coming up for you?
Yes, I do. Look, I've always got a book in the pipeline. Having written 11, I've written a book a year every year for about the last 10 years. In some years, I've written 2 books. So for about the last 10 years. And so I do have more books coming. What's really new for me is making the adjustment as I'm getting older and I'm starting to feel a bit more tired. As you do, your body and mind starts to wear out a little bit. I do everything I can to keep myself, fit and healthy.
Yeah.
I'm starting to really think about what does a decade by design. So what does the next 10 years look like for me? And it really is about days down, dollars same, or dollars up, right? So how do I work less but maintain income? And that's a little game I'm playing at the moment around, how little do I need to work in order to earn a reasonable income. Now, I hope that doesn't make me sound lazy. It's more of a curiosity and a game I'm playing as I head into my later years.
I think studio owners can totally relate to that. I think especially ones that are still teaching every single class in the studio, running the administration, running the accounts, doing all of it. And, I've got clients that have had their studios for some of them 20, 30 years. And I really do, I preach that a little bit, that sometimes it's okay to take the foot off the pedal and not be the teacher in every class and not be, I don't know, what's the saying, the bookkeeper and, the candlestick maker,
all of that.
The butcher, the baker and the candlestick maker.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go. That's the one I was trying to get at.
Well, I guess I haven't quite landed on the title yet, but I do think I've got what we call a legacy book. What's the last book I really want to write? And it's going to be something about satisfactory and enough and probably there'll be something about boring in there. And that satisfactory is underrated. You don't have to constantly be aiming for more all the time. What would enough be? Right? And so I am playing around with this idea that I think we're coming off 4 decades of being constantly pushed to do more, have big, hairy, audacious goals, go hard, get millions of dollars, all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh, gee, really? I wonder what enough is.
Yeah, and I think I'm still in that phase of, because I'm 40, right? So I feel like I'm just coming into my prime. I feel I've arrived.
I can tell you, having been there, I can tell you are.
Yeah, I feel like, oh, wow, like I've arrived. I'm confident. I know what I want. I know where I want to go, and I do want to grow. But being respectful of my clients that are actually in a very opposite position to me, I feel that it's important to acknowledge, like you said, that when is it enough? And, I've got
I know we don't want to do coaching on your call, but I would even say to you, yes, growth, yes, all of that. But what is your version of enough at the point of your life, right? That's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I've got a signature membership that's, called Studio Biz Success. And that's why I've asked you that question. What does success look like to you? Because success can be very different to everyone. And we can't define it by, I said this in one of my other, shows in an interview. And I said, just because Kim Kardashian wants to fly a private jet doesn't mean that that's what success looks like. And if that's what it does look like to you, then that's okay too.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it. But it doesn't have to be. You don't have to, have your own private island in the middle of a pandemic.
Oh, that'd be nice. Hey, be nice.
Get a private island in the middle of a pandemic for your 40th birthday, and like that looks amazing. But even just, everything from body image to everything that we aspire to, like it's gotten so ridiculous, especially in a creative space. We see that in our students as well. We've got young people coming through our doors in classes trying to aspire to what success looks like to others. And I just think, I love that you've said that you're working on a project to talk about when is it enough, because that's the key to it, isn't it? That's the key to success. It's when you're feeling so beautifully content and happy with where you are in the world right now. So yes, I love striving for growth. I'm all about it. But yeah, thinking about when enough is great too. I love that. Okay, so let's talk about where people can find you and where they can grab the ChatGPT Revolution book and all the things. Where can people find you? And we'll pop some links in the show notes.
All right, we will put some links in the show notes, but mostly you'll get me at donnamcgeorge.com. That easy. And I think donnamcgeorge.com/books will get you straight to the good ones. I've hidden the rubbish ones. We'll get you straight to the good books.
That's so funny. I know what that's like. And any creative listening knows what that means. I mean, I've written, musical productions and shows that I've sold to market, some of them successfully, others not. I do remember one particular production I did for the Sydney and Melbourne Fringe Festival a few years ago. And yeah, I prefer not to talk about that one ever again.
Let us never speak of that again.
Let us never speak of that one again. But then wrote a show last year that was like wildly successful and great, and I'm really proud of. So it's all good. We can bench the stuff along the way. We can bench
but the thing is, provided we learn from it, right? I can tell you everything I learned from writing every single book. So I think that's the real key thing. I joke about them being rubbish. They actually aren't really that rubbish, but these are the ones that I'm super proud of. These are better.
Okay, and we'll also pop a link in the show notes for that particular. You said something
the handout.
About. Yeah, love it.
Yep.
All right, thank you so much for coming on the show, and it's been great.
Thank you so much for having me, Josephine. I really enjoyed our chat.
Yay.
This episode was brought to you by my signature group coaching program, Studio Biz Success, an amazing and accessible online educational platform for performing arts studio owners designed to help you grow your business with confidence and get your results. Check it out at josephinelancuba.com, along with other great industry resources to help you leap into the studio biz you deserve. If you love this episode, be sure to share it with your friends. You can tag me on social media at Josephine Lane Cuba and give it a review. Your support helps the show to grow so I can continue to provide you with useful, informative content. I'm Josephine Lane Cuba, your biggest cheerleader. Thanks for listening and shine bright.